Hey pizza patrons, it's Peggy here, and today I am going to teach you how to make Thursday night pizza's sheet pan pizza dough. This is the dough you want if you are a square slice lover, if you want to make focaccia, if you want a pizza that is thick and bready and super soft, or if you're cooking for a crowd, because sheet pan pizza is made in a, you guessed it, sheet pan, which means that it makes about 6 to 8 servings, sometimes more depending on the crowd. So first you're gonna mix the dry ingredients. You need 4 cups of bread flour. I dip and level mine. That is what I've done for all of the recipes on Thursday night pizza. So here we go, 4 of these. You want 2 teaspoons of fine sea salt, 1 teaspoon of sugar, and 1 teaspoon of instant or rapid rise yeast. Then you want to get your, if you have a dough whisk, this is what I like to use. But you could use a wooden spoon or a rubber or silicone spatula too. You want to just mix that up so all that yeast and sugar and salt are really well incorporated. And then you need 1 2/3 cup of warm tap water. And then you need 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And then you just mix that up until as much flour as possible is incorporated in the dough. It might take a minute. You could do this in your stand mixer too. You'll see in the link that I provide with the full recipe on Thursday night pizza, there are instructions for that, but I prefer to do it this way. I just find that it's more meditative, maybe. Okay, most of my flour is now incorporated. I'll show you in a sec. I just want to get all of this delicious dough off my dough whisk. Okay, I don't need that anymore. I'm gonna show you. So here it is. You can see there's like a little flour left on the bottom, but that's okay. We're gonna knead that in. So take these hands, make sure your rings are off, and really get in there. And just try and incorporate as much of the flour in the bowl first. What you're doing now is starting to develop that gluten structure that when the dough rises is gonna make that delicious, bready, soft crust. Okay. A little sprinkle of flour on your counter, not too much, because the appeal of this dough is that it's nice and soft, and part of that is that you don't wanna put too much flour in because that will make the dough, the crust really less soft and less moist when it's baked. So, put that right there. And just knead it just until it's all together. It comes in this smooth ball and it doesn't really stick to your hands as much. I usually do about 5 minutes of kneading, sometimes a little less, depending. This actually looks pretty good right now. Let me show you what this looks like. So here it is, a nice smooth ball. You see when I press into it, it very slowly comes back up. All right, so now you need a bowl with a tight fitting lid. You're gonna put 1 tablespoon of olive oil in that bowl. Seems like a lot, but trust me on this. The olive oil is part of what makes the dough have its really nice structure and really tender texture. So put the dough ball in there and turn it around to coat. And then top it with the lid. Make sure that lid's on nice and firm. That keeps it from drying out as it rises. It also keeps the warmth inside the bowl so that it can rise really well. So then you're just gonna let this guy sit around for about an hour, maybe up to 2. You want it to about double in size. All right, so I'll see you in a little bit. Thanks to the magic of planning ahead, I already have a dough that has been rising for about 2 hours to show you so that we can move along. For reference, this is what our dough ball looked like just now, the one we just made and just put in this bowl. And this is what it looks like after, I think, about an hour and a half of rising, this one did. So it'll depend on how hot it is or cold it is near you, in your kitchen. It depends a lot on the atmosphere of your kitchen. Some doughs will rise perfectly. They'll about double in an hour. Some doughs will take 2 hours. So unfortunately, I don't have an exact number for you, but just go by this. You want your dough to look like this, okay? So I'm gonna put this one aside so it can rise for another pizza later today. And then you get your baking sheet. You want this to be a dark colored rimmed baking sheet if you can. The darker color will make the crust brown really nicely on the bottom. If you only have a light colored baking sheet, go ahead and use it. Just know that it might take a little longer to cook. Start by putting about 2 tablespoons of olive oil on your baking sheet. Again, this seems like a lot, but this is what contributes to that delicious, delicious flavor. Okay. And spread that out with your hands. So much of pizza is getting your hands gross, but I say just lean into it because it's such a tactile experience. So it's one of the reasons I like making the dough by hand rather than in my food processor or my KitchenAid. So here's your dough. You're gonna put it in the pan and you're gonna spread it out. Try and get it as even as you can. It's kind of like working with Play-Doh at this stage. So try and get it all the way to the edges of the pan. And this might take a little coaxing, that's okay. I find that if I work like this, like a cat kneading almost, it helps press the dough down and spread it in the right direction. You really want to get it all the way to those edges. And as I say in the recipe that I've linked here, you'll notice sometimes it just takes a little extra coaxing rather to get those edges filled, but it is worth it. And if you're having trouble and the dough keeps shrinking back when you try and spread it out in the pan, that just means it didn't rise long enough. You're going to have to be patient and you're gonna have to cover it with some plastic wrap or a clean kitchen towel. Go do something else for about 15 or 20 minutes and then come back to it. Okay, my dough is actually working really well right now. Again, just make sure it's nice and even because you want every slice of pizza to have about the same level of crust. You don't want one slice to be all bread. Okay, Or maybe you do, and then you just make your pizza that way. Okay. All right, I'm gonna wash my hands. So here we are. We've got the dough all the way to the edges. It is filling the pan, and I'm going to cover this with plastic wrap, or you could do a clean kitchen towel and let it sit for about 30 minutes to up to an hour or so, just to puff up a little bit. After it's been spread out in the pan, the longer you let it sit, the fluffier the crust will be when it bakes. "30 minutes is up, and my dough has nicely spread in the pan. Like I said, the longer you let it rest this time, once it's spread out in the pan, the fluffier and breadier your pizza crust will be. But really, after 30 minutes, it is ready to go, and it will, just wait. Just wait till you see how delicious this is. Okay, so, yeah. Oh, this is so good. All right, let me try and show you this. This might be kind of hard to see, but it is, you can see it's all the way in the corners of the pan. It's nice and oily. Trust me on that one. I know it might seem like an excessive amount of oil, but that adds so much flavor. So I'm just gonna do one more of these just to make sure. I'm gonna use my fingertips to just poke the dough. This just prevents big bubbles from forming and kind of redistributing your toppings in the oven. You don't really have to do this, but I like to. Okay. Now, while the dough was rising or resting in the pan, I preheated my oven to 500 degrees with a rack in the center of the oven. And I also prepped my toppings. For this sheet pan pizza, I'm using my New York style or slow simmered pizza sauce. It's Colby cheese because I couldn't get low moisture mozzarella. And I actually find that Colby or a mild cheddar works just as well as mozzarella on these pizzas. I have sliced cured meat. This is finocchione, which my son really, really loves, so I put this on. And then this is just some sliced spring garlic. You could also use spring onion or scallions too. This is just what I came up with based on partially what I had in the fridge, but also because it's spring and I happen to have green garlic. So, all right, let's top this pizza. I'm using about 2 cups of sauce, 1 full recipe of my New York style pizza sauce. Should be good for a sheet pan sized pizza. Up to you if you want to get all the way to the edges. If you like a little bit of a naked crust, go for it. I kind of like getting to the edges, so. And also up to you, if you don't want yours as saucy, go with 1.5 cups of sauce, or even just 1 cup of sauce is fine. In fact, I don't even think I need all 2 cups of this. So. Okay, then I'm gonna put my meat on. You don't have to do this in the order that I'm doing it, just whatever order works for you. And because of how big sheet pan pizza is, this is also a great way to do different toppings on a pizza, like half meat, half vegetarian, you know, mix and match, but I'm gonna do all the same on this because my family loves this meat. So then I'm gonna put my cheese on. I don't really have a perfect measure of cheese for this. I'm going with about maybe a cup and a half. Some people go all in with like 2.5 cups of shredded cheese, but I don't really like that much. So yeah, this is gonna be about a cup and a half tops. I like to make sure I can see some of the other toppings through the cheese. But again, I will not judge you if you put more cheese on than I do. Okay, and then I'm gonna top with my spring garlic. Again, use any toppings you like. I just always like to have something green on there because I guess I'm just a nerd. Okay. All right. And then this is ready for the oven. It's gonna go in for 15 minutes. Turn it halfway through to make sure it cooks evenly. And what you're looking for is that the bottom crust, the very bottom of the crust, is even golden brown. So here we go. Are you ready to see a perfect food? Oh my gosh. Okay. Wow. Now that is a beautiful pizza. Hold on one second and I'll show you. So I use an offset spatula to check the bottom, and I already have a little bit ago, but so we can see together. Let's see. And not burn myself. Okay. Can we see underneath? Let's see. It is, you may have to trust me because this is a little too hot for me to show the camera easily, but if you loosen it a bit, and you can peek at, oh, it's perfect. It is perfect. It is evenly browned all over. You'll see when I cut it up, I just don't want to burn myself. But I can take this closer to you so you can see that can you see? The cheese on top is just nicely browned. The crust around the edges, you can see, is deep, like a deep golden brown color. And I cannot wait to eat this pizza. Let it sit for about 5 minutes or so, just so the cheese sets a little bit and doesn't just ooze out the second you cut it. So I'm gonna let that sit for a minute. I'm gonna transfer it to this cutting board, and then I'll cut it up and we can see what this bad boy looks like. Shall we cut into it? It's been sitting for about 5-6 minutes. The cheese is nice and set. I'm not worried about any ooze, and I'm pretty hungry, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut into this. All right, you can cut it into whatever size squares you like. I'm gonna go kind of big. And you can cut it right in the baking sheet if you want. I like to put mine on a cutting board because I don't want those lines in my baking sheets, but you know, you don't have to be as fussy as I am about it. Ready for the big reveal? Okay. Let me pick, I'll pick this slice. Oh, look at this. Look at this perfect square slice of pizza. I don't even think I need to tell you how delicious this is. Just Please let me know when you try this recipe, how it went for you. This is just so good. I'm just gonna show you. I feel like that's the best way. Hold on. Okay. So check out that crust. It's perfect. This is perfect. It is just a little spongy. Oops. Just a little spongy. You can see that. It is just, it's perfect. I don't even have extra words for it. This dough is not chewy like the other doughs that I have. It's not that chewy New York style pizza crust. You just bite right through it. It is so soft and delicate, but also thick and hearty. I can't say enough about this crust. I hope you love it as much as I do, and I cannot wait to keep making pizza with you. Thanks so much for your support.